the Green Cross delivers.
Welcome back, everyone. 14 after the hour. Time for us to go behind the headlines, where the Oregonian reports that Oregon cities ask for a big rewrite of voter-approved legalization law. There are many bills that are being proposed in the Oregon legislature, as we still have until January 1st, 2016, before the first marijuana licensees are allowed to go into effect. July 1st is when the legalization, possession of cultivation and cultivation go into effect. So they've got some time to work on this stuff. And the most recent bill to come down is Senate Bill 542. Senate Bill 542 has been sponsored by State Senator Winters at the request of the League of Oregon Cities, and it does two primary things that we are very opposed to. The first one is that it would allow a ban on sales and licensing. So basically, no growers, no processors, no retailers. It would allow a city or county to ban that simply by a vote of their city council or county commission, in clear violation of what Measure 91 proposed and was supported by 56% of the voters. In Measure 91, they proposed that only a vote of the people can ban a marijuana licensee. This is clearly against the will of the people. And the other option here is they want to make it so that localities can impose their own local taxes on recreational marijuana sales. Now, Measure 91 levies a $35 an ounce tax, a flat tax at production. And this was done specifically to ensure that legal marijuana could compete with the pricing of black market marijuana. Adding local taxes to the marijuana only thwarts the point of the initiative, and that is to undercut or compete with the black market. Now, Scott Winkles, he is the lobbyist for the League of Oregon Cities. He says Measure 91, quote, didn't pass everywhere, end quote, in Oregon, and quote, these communities need to have some say in what is appropriate for them, end quote. Well, Mr. Winkles, we have this little thing called democracy, and the way that it works is that the people of a state vote on something, and if a majority of them support it, then it passes. To say that it didn't pass everywhere in Oregon is a non sequitur. It was a statewide ballot initiative. It passed everywhere in Oregon. The entire state supported it. These folks want to look at the votes of individual districts or individual counties and say, well, this county didn't choose it, therefore this county shouldn't have to abide by the law. And that's not the way our democracy works. Furthermore, Mr. Winkles, if you really think that these localities need to have some say in what's appropriate for them, then why do you fear putting a vote of the people on the ballot to determine whether or not they want to ban these marijuana licensees? If indeed these communities want to have some say, then a vote of their people at a general election is that community having some say. No. What the League of Oregon Cities wants is to be able to have a little tiny number of county commissioners or city councilmen who are easily swayed by big moneyed interests and powerful interests to go against the will of the people. They're afraid, Winkles is afraid, that a lot of these cities, if they put it up to a vote, they would lose. And they don't like those kind of odds. They want to game the system so they can pull all their strings, all of that influence that they've built up politically over the years to get their way in banning marijuana businesses. Now, Rob Bovet is with the Association of Oregon Counties. He says that local taxes should keep retail prices, quote, at or below the legalized black market, end quote. Well, here's the thing. If you have local taxes, you set up all sorts of micro black markets all over the state. If Portland is taxing at 10%, and then Linton just up the street isn't taxing at all, you give incentive for Portlanders to drive to the small town that doesn't tax at 10%. A statewide $35 an ounce tax is a low tax. It's the lowest tax proposed on marijuana in the 4 states that have legalized it, and keeping it as a consistent tax throughout the state is what is best needed to maintain that competition with the black market. The thing that's most ironic about all of this is that Measure 91's text regarding local bans and regarding local taxation is copied damn near word for word from our current alcohol laws. And you don't see any of these localities calling on local elections to be able to, local city councils to be able to ban alcohol establishments. You don't see Pendleton calling for a 10% tax on alcohol to deal with all the costs of the drunken cowboys at the Pendleton Roundup every year. You don't see Portland asking for a special 10% alcohol tax to deal with shutting down Old Town and closing all the streets to deal with all the pissing drunks and the fighting drunks and the puking drunks that happen every weekend. You don't see any town calling for a local 10% tax on cigarettes to deal with the costs of all the cigarette butts that are left over, littered all over the place in those particular towns. It is ridiculous to be treating marijuana any differently than alcohol or tobacco, and most specifically when 56.1% of the people, the greatest margin of support in any of the 4 legal states, and greater support than medical marijuana got in Oregon, California, or Colorado,